Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sabine's Common Sense. I'm your host, Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer, and I'm so excited to be here with you once again. Thank you for helping me be on purpose. So, today we're going to talk about sports and business and branding all in one. I have a doozy of of a story for you. It's more so just like a turn of events that's really going to make a big impact. So we'll be talking about that and all the moving parts related to it. Then I have the opportunity of interviewing another attorney of color. She is killing it in the New York real estate market. I mean, she is the person to go to if you're trying to close on a home. And so it's one of the most hectic markets, so much red tape, so much, really like moving parts related to it. And so if you have to be really good to succeed in this market, and she's definitely doing that. So we're going to talk to her. And so stay tuned for that. All right. So, my story today, we're talking about NCAA and name, image, and likeness. I know. What the heck does that mean? So, if you're like me and you're not really into sports, you're probably like, what is NCAA? So, it is the National Association of, National Athletic Association. I definitely botched that, but National College Athletic Association. And what they do is they're sort of like in a position to unite like all the college sports. So all of the Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, I'm sure you probably heard of that. Those are like the top schools, mainly Division 1, where you would go for sports to be if you want to make it into the pros, or if you want to make it into the Olympics and things like that. Those are the kind of the schools that you want to go to. So the NCAA is like an association of all of those schools. And because they're together, I think it's like more than 300 schools, they sort of have like so much pull. And they have rules and regulations for college sports. And so you have to sort of follow their rules if you want to go to their schools. And so one of the major rules that they had in place is that you couldn't take money to play for a particular school, and you couldn't use your name, image, and likeness to sort of make money off of it in a commercial way, which is interesting. I don't know if you guys know this movie called He Got Game. It was like from back in the day. It's about a basketball player. If you haven't seen it, definitely look it up. It's a good movie. He's a basketball player, and his dad was in jail. And I guess like these, association people, I don't know if it was NCAA in particular in that movie, but like something of the sort. College wanted to get him to go to a particular college because he was really good. And so they got his dad out of jail, which he was estranged from his dad, but they got his dad out of jail to try to get his dad to convince him to, go to this particular school. But anyways, it's interesting. You should watch it. But anyways, there was like some funny business because they couldn't pay him to go. They couldn't, give him gifts and stuff like that. And we've heard stories in the news about things like that, where they try to pay athletes by giving their parents something or what have you in order for them to go to a particular school or to sway them. So this is a really, really big deal. Like, it's going to be something that's really going to change the game. No pun intended, but quite literally it's changing the game. And so now, because the NCAA changed these rules, and don't get me wrong, they didn't change these rules because they're like nice and they're kind. And because at first when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's like awesome. They want the athletes to be able to like make a living and, really capitalize. No. So California, however, changed their laws because the name, image, and likeness is part of your right to publicity, right? So right to publicity is really the right to make money off of your whole persona, your swag, like the way you do things, like, things like that. Who you are, your being, right? That's your right to publicity. So your name and image and likeness makes that up. And so the name, image, and likeness thing is a function of state law. There is no federal law that says you have a right to your persona, but different states have laws on what you can do with that. And so they're not on the same page. It's different things. Some states say that it's a right. Some states say that like it's a property right. So like something like your intellectual property, like trademark and copyright, or like how you own something, a property right? Some states say it's just personal to you. You can't really license it. It's not like something you could give away. It's just personal to you. So they're all over the place on this thing. And there's no sort of meeting of the minds. And that's what the college association kind of said was their reasoning for that, because it wouldn't be fair. And their whole thing is fairness. But I doubt it, because although they said that these athletes couldn't do it in the past, they do have exceptions. And the exceptions are education, media, to promote camps, to promote nonprofits. And who benefits from all of that? The colleges. Like that's everything that they do. Like they are nonprofits, most of them, which is interesting because they make millions and billions of dollars. They are definitely like in involved with like camps, like sports camps and things like that, and education. All of that is them. So they were the only ones who were benefiting off of this, right? So was it about fairness? I don't know. In any event, California, being one of the states that had a really robust, name, image, and likeness sort of laws or right of publicity laws, they kind of said, well, we're going to do away with that. You can use your name, image, and likeness to promote sports in California. So now NCAA had to do something about it. Why? Because now it's not fair. So it's not fair. California schools and California athletes and things like that had an unfair advantage, essentially, although it's conflicted with NCAA. And so, what would happen there, right? So anyways, I think that's how they really put the pressure on NCAA to do something about it, because the other states and the other schools was like, well, that's not fair and that's not going to be, good for us. And so it's been sort of like in the making since late 2019 until now. So now they finally said, okay, fine, you can do it. It's not a violation of our rules. And so why that's important is because, like, if you're a student who wants to go to one of these schools where you could get recruited to go to either the Olympics or the leagues, you got to sort of follow their rules. So if you're like taking money and doing promotions and stuff, you wouldn't qualify for these schools. So now that you can actually do it, it's awesome. Interesting fact. So I was talking about LeBron to someone and was like, oh, because my main thing was that I felt like I want these students to be sort of careful in terms of like contracts and things like that. I'll talk about that. But I was thinking like, LeBron back then is a very different, value than LeBron now, right? A 4-time championship winner. And so they were saying like, well, LeBron never went to college. So he was getting allegedly gifts, in high school before he went to the league, because he didn't have to deal with the whole college situation. So if you're an athlete who's not trying to go to college, who perhaps, I don't know how the Olympics plays into it, or perhaps not looking to do that, but you want to go straight to the league, you don't care about that. You can, exploit your name, your image, your likeness, and be able to make money off of it without caring about the colleges. But all these athletes who are, that there's only a few spots for that. Not everybody's going to the league, right? So all these athletes now can make money just by being an athlete. They don't have to go to the league. So that's not the only way now somebody who's talented in sports can build wealth. And so it's opening like the floodgate of all these different avenues for athletes to really make money. So for instance, some of these athletes are now joining this gaming platform called Yoke, where they can play against I guess like the community can play against the gamers, right? The players, the community can play against the players, right? So gamers can play against the players. And so a lot of them have like huge followings. They have, followings over 1 million followers, some of them like 3-4 million followers. I don't know how they get in this notoriety, but they are, like, even high school players. So they're getting this notoriety. They're popular. They're influencers. And that's what makes it bigger than everything, is that they're influencers. Because before that, they were influencers who basically couldn't make no money off of their following, but they were just influencers just for the sake of it. But now, because they can make money off of their followings, they're getting endorsement deals now. They're, like I said, working with these different gaming companies. There's another platform called Cameo where they can make money off of just saying they're, making a video for their followers, or for their for those of who are basically their followers. So that's pretty cool, if you ask me, that they're able to sort of do that now. And it's like, it doesn't end. Like, this happened July 1st, and we're like 10 days in or 8 days into July, and there's like endless deals going on. So there's endorsement deals for products, there's endorsement deals for clothing. They're starting their own companies. These 2 quarterbacks out of Florida, Mackenzie Milton and Derek, I think his name is probably Derek. It's just the way that it's spelled. Derek King. They started a platform called Dreamfield. So they're helping college athletes, find like appearances. So it's like almost like all these different industries that were there before, but now just apply to this whole new field of individuals who are influencers who can now, make money, draw a crowd, draw attention. And we know that marketing is always looking for a new place to put their products and money because, the old ways of marketing is sort of like dead and gone. So this is just a whole new avenue. And so they are doing that. And I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch more tech deals, a whole bunch more, apps and things like that that they can get involved in. And so I just love the fact that it's like the league is not the only way and that these athletes, they live their whole lives as athletes and then all of a sudden they no longer in school and it's like it's done. But now they can do things. And I think about my nephew who's like 12 years old and he's been playing basketball since he probably could crawl. Like both his older siblings play basketball. Shout out to Peyton Howell. So I think about him and thinking about how now as he's growing up and as his talent, continues to shine, they're going to start looking at younger and younger people because they're going to want to get them younger so that they could get a better deal, right? But at the same time, it's good for them because they're now making a living off of just being good. And it's not easy, right? Student athletes, they work their entire lives. Like they put everything into what they're doing in order to be who they are. So it's not like, oh, okay, it's just easy to do that. It's not. So I think that's awesome. And the one thing that I wanted to sort of highlight is about this is to sort of like explain what the name, image, and likeness is and the right to publicity. So basically, like I said, it's being able to make money off of your persona. It's being able to stop other ones from using it without paying you for it, and that is good because although the states are, different on it, the NCAA is also speaking to Congress about making it an actual federal law. So if it's a federal law, it applies to everyone equally. Everyone has to follow the same rules. And the states sort of have to adjust what they're doing to sort of like make make it in line with the federal law. So if they do that, it's not only going to affect these college students, but it's also going to affect, like I said, anybody of influence. Because right now, some states say it's just celebrities. And some states say, well, if you're just somebody of influence or any person. So we need to kind of know what that is. And so the good thing about that as well is as it stands now, you don't have to file anything to have a right to publicity, right? It's just inherent, like you already have it if you're in one of the 30 states that have a law or protection for it. So you just have it. So that's pretty cool. And you don't have to file anything. But I wanted to sort of like highlight some of the things that they should be thinking about as well, which is trademark and copyright. So trademark, as you may know, is where you are protecting the source of a good or a service. So if you're talent, that is sort of like a service. So they should be thinking about trademarking their names or anything that they sort of attach their name to. So for instance, when you do a trademark, you have to trademark it for a particular category, right? So if they are doing an endorsement deal for apparel and they're using their name, they should trademark it for that. If they're doing, like a cereal, they should trademark it for that, whatever it is, so that when they're getting into these deals, that they have ownership, right? The bottom line is they should be having ownership. When they're getting to these deals, they should have ownership, and that way they're going into it as a level playing field where these organizations are not giving them something or the organizations are not owning them, but they are sort of partnering. And that's the way that it should be, a collaborative effort. There's a story about, many people probably know this, Famous Amos. He has these Famous Amos cookies, right? Very old cookies, been around for a long time. He sold his cookies like years ago. He, built it from the ground up, from the dirt, and really, made a really big name for himself. And then he sold it. The problem is that he sold also his name with it. So he could never do anything else with his name and make money off of his name. So he really ended up broke. And it's unfortunate. I mean, he sold for his company for a lot of money, but then he could never use his name. And I think it kind of scarred him that happened to him, that he never really like pivoted and did something else, because he could have used another name and did something. But the whole point is you don't want to be, giving away who you are, your whole persona. That's what fears me for the young people and these families who are now going to be newly into money and into, all of this, fast paced living and everybody wanting to sort of like get a piece of the pie. I don't want them giving away their rights forever or for pennies, right? So it really needs to be something where they're educated about it, where they have the right legal representation in place, where they're, reading these contracts and they know what they're giving away for how much. With these sort of rights to publicity, if If they make it a property right, which is something that you could license, that's really good. But they also need to keep in mind that you need to sort of like license it in certain areas, right? So not so much certain areas, but like you have to be conscious of how long am I licensing it for? To whom? In what territory? In what jurisdiction? What are they allowed to do with it? You know? And if you guys know athletes or if you guys are athletes, please think about these things. No matter what stage you are in your athletic career, think about these things and tell your friends. Like, you want to make sure that everybody's sort of aware, like, what is at stake here? What's available? Like, what are the rights that are available to you all and to your friends and to everyone who you know? Have these conversations and definitely leave me some comments to let me know what you think about this. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, let's start a conversation about it. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. So in addition to the opportunity to trademark and, you know, put your name on products and services and things like that, there may be also opportunities to now copyright their, you know, anything that they may create. Like maybe it's a writing, maybe it's choreography. I know all these sports players come up with their different dances and things like that. There was a whole thing with Fortnite and how Fortnite was just like using the players' dances within the game, and they got sued because it's like, okay, well, they did it first. Sometimes you cannot prove that you were the first one to do it, right? So if they copyright these things that they're doing creatively, now they will be able to have like yet another stream of income, more ownership, right? So let's just keep it like that, like more ownership, more ownership. Don't just give it away. And that's what I'm concerned with. So I hope they're sort of like considering these things. So what are the takeaways? So I want you to know for takeaways, definitely this is interesting. This is a whole new avenue of potential of, it's not even potential income. It is income. Like they're already doing the deals. Like it's happening, right? Think about also you as the audience, like how can you fit into this? Like where are there business opportunities for you now that there's this whole new audience of people who are able to like partake? And maybe you were an athlete and you have a certain, you know, specialized knowledge in what they need or what they could use or how they could be protected. Like that could be a whole avenue for you as a potential business owner. And then also that that there's a potential to now trademark. So it's not just having this right of publicity, but definitely make sure that, you know, athletes are protecting their name, they're protecting whatever it is that they're creating so that they also have that protection as well. Then finally, the biggest takeaway is the licensing, the agreements. Make sure if you know somebody or if you're someone who's in a position to, you know, take part in any of this, that you're not just signing any agreements without knowing. Don't get excited, overly excited, and just do things. I'm just thinking, it reminds me of the record industry, how where artists, you know, like TLC, I don't know, maybe you guys are not, maybe you guys are too young to know TLC, or maybe you are. They were an artist, they were a group, I should say, that they kind of got taken by the industry, by their management, because they were like wildly successful, so millions of records and things like that, but they ended up broke and bankrupt because they didn't know and understand agreements and stuff. When people are young, they just get into these deals and they're not really paying attention to it. So there is definitely a lot of room for things to go wrong. And so there definitely needs to be a lot of oversight, like wake up. But I think that this era, because of social media, like people are much more educated and they're really like, you know, are paying attention to like what's going on. So I'm hoping that's the case. I just don't want anybody to sort of get taken. And then I'm excited that people are able to now, you know, capitalize on who they are, know their worth, know their value, and have more opportunity than just like one seat at the table. And that's my story. So let me know what you thought about it. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic and how we can kind of, you know, speak more about it, put more information out there, and also be a part of the money making. All right. So next up, we'll be talking to my guest, Crystal Young. Hey, Crystal.
Hi, Sabine.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. It's such a pleasure to speak to you always.
Always. Always.
With your bubbly spirit and great personality. So you can pay me later. You can
tell me more.
So, Crystal, so you're an attorney.
Yes.
Obviously, right? and you are working in the real estate field.
I am.
And we met through both working in the real estate field. Do you remember how we met?
Not the moment we met,
Okay.
but I know I always admired you just
thank
from
you.
just from watching you on Instagram and everything that you're doing. Powerful woman with her own firm. Yes, girl. You out there killing it.
Thank you.
Definitely. So I believe when we first met in person, it was at a networking event.
Yes,
because that's what we do as real estate attorneys.
Exactly.
We go to networking events, real estate networking events. And I just remember just being attracted to just your energy, your spirit, and just saying, I could see this is like a friend in my head already.
Right, same.
But then, over time, developing this friendship. So,
thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate all those kind words.
Of course. You kidding?
Yes,
Easy.
we did meet at a networking event. And I remember when I met you, I was just like, who is this girl? I was like, well, this woman, you know what I mean? Like, who is this woman? Because you command a room. You had like this bubbly, everybody sort of like attracted to your personality and stuff. So I was definitely admired by you as well.
I appreciate that. Okay,
You're welcome.
girl.
Okay.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Here we
All
go.
right.
Women complimenting other women, which is nice.
And that's different too, because I noticed that you were because like sometimes you kind of gauge like the energy of the person.
Yes.
And because we were direct competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I noticed that it was refreshing that you were very like warm and receptive. Like, hey,
hey,
like.
Girl, please. Because, when you're out networking, you have to be able to, understand the value of everyone brings to that particular room.
Yes.
So I already saw you never really as a competitor, but just like one of my colleagues, like, hey, girl, like, as if we went to law school together,
Right.
Just like, and I just knew that there would be so much I could learn from you, and that, again, you command a room,
Thank you.
So I certainly saw that in you, but also I'm always empowered by women in general.
Okay.
So going to these networking events, I'm always attracted to the woman in the room that has her own business, whether it's real estate, whether she's a mortgage professional.
Right.
I'm always like, yes, girl, you go ahead. And especially women that look like us. So,
thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
And I think that's awesome. And I can tell that. And I think that's what really attracts people to you and your energy and all that good stuff.
Appreciate you.
So tell me, like, what is something that people assume about you, but they're wrong?
Oh, okay. What do people assume about me? I think people assume that I am like this 24/7 and they can mess with me.
Right.
So, you know what it is? I think, working as an attorney, we have the challenge sometime as women that, look younger than we are.
Yep.
Assume that we don't have the experience sometime that we do. And so, sometimes you gotta like say, you know what? I know you've been doing this a long time, and I've been doing it a long time too.
Right.
And, and I have just as much of experience. I belong in the same room as you. I think that's what sometimes being so friendly that, people think that you don't have that kind of,
that push, that oomph, or that aggressive side when you need it.
That aggressive side. And it's funny because, there are some, say, realtors that, or mortgage professionals that have seen me like that in a closing or in a room where it had to be more aggressive. And, so now anytime I see them and we're in a room full of people, they're like, yo, don't mess with her because she is not to be played with. I saw her in action.
Right.
And, you always do it in love. Right. Obviously, the overarching goal is to ensure your client's protected. So, and sometimes you have to get a little more aggressive to ensure your client is protected.
I agree. She's right, y'all. I seen her in action. She don't play. I was like, okay, sis, I got you.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And that's important, you know, because, and I think it's important for women to know, like, you could be nice without having to be a pushover.
Yes.
And you can also be aggressive without having that stigma of being an angry Black woman that we hear all the time.
Yes.
it's not one or the other.
Yes.
You know, like you can have both. It's not all or nothing.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, definitely.
So what made you this way? Like where you are not afraid of being in a room, you're not intimidated by, you know, your environment, your career. Like, is there anything you could sort of pinpoint that might have?
Yeah, you know what? As a kid, and anyone that knows me as, maybe in elementary school or, middle school, high school will know I was a very shy kid.
Yeah.
Really, I was. And so at some time, I get little comments on Facebook like, girl, I'm impressed. Or, girl, and I know what place that's coming from. It's coming from a place that I used to be very shy and intimidated. But once I, became an attorney, I knew that that would be important for my role. Right. And so I just kind of fit into that role. I said to myself, like, I had a picture in my mind what I wanted to be as an attorney, being surrounded by different attorneys.
Okay.
And just, I started as a paralegal. So I worked as a paralegal for about 10 years before I decided to go to law school.
Okay.
So I met so many different attorneys, and like the female attorneys that were commanding the room, I was like, okay, that's who I'm going to be. Like it was like very inspiring. So it's always, I think, look, I just found a gem there that I feel like what's
important. Drop a gem,
yes,
Crystal. Let it flow.
I drop a gem. But what I realized is that just in talking to you just now, it's like very important to find someone that, you want to kind of mirror yourself, and not that you want to step in the shoes of that person, because you always want to be yourself, but you want to find someone that you admire and say to yourself, listen, I want to do it like them, but in my own way. Yeah. And that's what I think, over the years being a paralegal, I would take something from all the different female attorneys I would see and say, you know what, one day I'm going to go to law school. And when I come out of law school, that's who I want to be. So
that's awesome.
That's how I kind of got here. But, it takes work. You really have to step out of your comfort zone, especially as a shy child, and quiet and just wanting to like kind of, stand behind the room and not really say anything. Now I'm kind of like, why was I like that?
Know? Yeah, I could totally relate to that. I was definitely very shy. I still consider myself shy, but I've pushed myself, like you said, out of my comfort zone to do things that, are challenging to me, but I enjoy it at the same time.
Exactly. How fulfilling is that too?
It's extremely fulfilling.
And this one, y'all, has been on stages with how many thousands of people? So to say you're shy or that, that's stepping out of your comfort zone, like you are a walking role model for someone that, is nervous or afraid to kind of step out of their comfort zone, because you have done so and you wouldn't even know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely something that, challenges that inner introvert. The person who wants to just, like you said, be behind the scenes and not do it. But, it's something also freeing about it. Right. To know that you can, challenge whatever that, sort of feeling it is. Basically, you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You don't have to let things hold you back.
I agree with that. And each, everything is like a small accomplishment. Right. So once you do one thing and you're like, like you, for instance, once you stand on a stage in front of 1,000 people, you're like, well, I could stand in front of a stage of 1,000,000 people.
Exactly.
It's like you take those goals and just make them, bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's when you really realize, like, there's literally nothing I can't do.
Nothing I can't do, right.
This is nothing related to real estate, but I went skydiving during the pandemic.
Yes, I saw that. I was like,
girl.
Are you serious? Because I wanted to go skydiving. Everybody was telling me, you're crazy. And I was like, Crystal did it. I need to do it.
Listen, everybody should go skydiving. Okay. Why? One, for me, it was like important because I was always afraid of heights. And so literally afraid of heights to the extent that I remember as a teenager, you go to Roosevelt Field. That's what we did. We went to Roosevelt Field. We took the bus.
And you were fancy.
Right. Yeah. That's what I know. That's what we did. We took the N16, and you might know the N16, you took it to Roosevelt Field, and you would, with your $5, all you could afford was like Burger King.
A pretzel
and
or something.
Exactly, a pretzel, Auntie Anne's, and that's it. But you spend the whole day in Roosevelt Field. But, I always describe my previous now fear of heights by there was a staircase that you could see, it was like hollow. You could see the floor as you're going up. And so almost like you could stick your foot and like kind of fall through. And so all of my friends, we were all going, all my friends be like, running up the staircase, running down. And I'd be like, I got to take the escalator. Even like the escalators, I was still a little nervous. But moral of the story, once I went skydiving, girl,
that was it.
It's like you feel like you can do anything. My fear of heights, from that day on, I have absolutely no fear of heights. Yeah, and just even once you like kind of jump from that plane, not only the fear of heights, but just the sense of accomplishment that literally there's nothing I cannot do, and nothing I cannot accomplish just from jumping out of the plane. So I suggest everybody go skydiving because you will really feel, I believe, that feeling. Anyone that does it says that it's such a rush that, So.
You convinced me. You definitely convinced me.
Do it, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you feel like there are no challenge that you feel like you can't overcome at this point?
No challenge I can't overcome. It's all my own mind. So I have to always remember I can't procrastinate.
Okay.
I have these conversations with you, girl. I ain't get to it, girl. I didn't finish it. Because that's a limitation in my own mind.
Okay.
If I wake up earlier every morning, I can get it done. If I, spend a little time and maybe not go out on the weekend, I can get it done. So it's any limitations in my mind. It's not, there's no exterior force that can prevent me from doing anything.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so when you say you were looking at other attorneys and you were sort of like taking things from them that you could sort of, emulate, what is it that, in terms of like collectively, right?
Yes.
What is it that made you feel like it was possible for you?
You know what? To be honest, I was a paralegal doing all the attorney's work.
Okay.
And so, and I would I give the example that I would go on vacation and the attorney would call me and say, Crystal, I have to go to court. What should I say? What should I do? And I'm like, well, if I'm doing all your work, if someone like an attorney can come to me, and that's why it's important. You have to see yourself better than you are, And so, because I saw myself as like, I'm just a paralegal.
Right.
And, anytime someone says that to me, maybe one of my paralegals, oh, I'm just a paralegal. You are not, girl, you are not a paralegal. Like tomorrow, if you went to law school, you'd
be a lawyer. Exactly.
You would be a lawyer.
Yeah.
So it's not just I'm a paralegal, it's who you believe yourself to be.
Yeah.
So I would come to that, and sometimes, even I would interact with some attorneys and I'm like, man, like if you could be an attorney, I can't, so sometimes we almost like need that.
Yeah.
I think for maybe you and I, because we what I would consider just like we're showing more of the personality side of being an attorney. I think, and what I hear when I get a message from like my DMs or something, like, oh man, like I could be an attorney. Like, like attorneys
people don't know it's possible.
Yeah, people don't feel like it's possible because they feel like you can't relate, like as a kid, you're taught, attorney, doctor, but those are like big things. Like if you don't have an example of what that looks like, and we or maybe me come from a time, but we come from a time we didn't have social media. So,
right. No, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
So now I know exactly because we think sometimes that if we had the social media, it would be
y'all be scared of me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we needed that example of like, if you could do it, I could do it. And it took me being around different attorneys and having those conversations that I was like, yeah, I could definitely do this.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I definitely feel the same way. Like, I would see other professionals. And I just, for some reason back then, before I went to school, I didn't really think there was nothing that I couldn't do, right? I feel like law school made me feel like there are things that I couldn't do.
Yes.
But like I didn't think that there was things that I couldn't do. Although I didn't have the example, I didn't know what it looked like. Right. I didn't know what it was supposed to be like. I thought I had to be like in that box of what an attorney is.
Right.
But like going through it and now coming out on the other side, I'm like, oh, after some self-work, I realized, no, I could be me as an attorney. I can do it my way, still show my personality, still be able to like, laugh and relate to people like you said.
Right.
But I'm a lawyer now.
I love that. And you are doing that, girl. Sabine, the purpose lawyer. Y'all gotta follow her because the jewels she drops every day. But
Thank you, my
for
friend.
sure. Absolutely, girl.
So tell me.
Yes.
Real estate, it's challenging.
Yes.
We know, right? In any jurisdiction. But New York is a beast on its own, right?
Yes, it is.
So many moving parts, so many things. What would you say is like the most challenging part of what you do?
The most challenging part is managing expectations.
Okay.
When you are purchasing a home, this is one of the most stressful times in your life. I said that to someone the other day, and they said, yeah, like... it probably goes hand in hand with planning your wedding. I don't know anything about that. But
that makes sense because there's a lot of hidden stressors that you don't realize.
Yes,
so I think
exactly.
Yep.
So that's what's said. And so I just know from personal experience, I had been working in real estate for years before I purchased my first home, which is unfortunate. But
sometimes you're too close to it to see it.
You're too close to see it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I had been in it, and I was even stressed out of my mind.
Wow.
So I always say that to the clients, like I can empathize. Sometimes they're going through things like walkthrough issues or things that occur after the closing, and I'm like, girl, the same thing happened to me. Like that is crazy, So that's really the hardest part is managing those expectations and those emotions because, again, for me, being in it, it was stressful. So now I always put myself in the shoes of someone that has no experience in what this industry is like, and that there's so many things that can happen that can cause a delay in the process, things that are outside of anyone's control.
Right.
And so that's the most difficult part because you're not just an attorney, but you become like a psychologist, a therapist, just really like a shoulder to cry on almost. Because, everyone has their things they're going through in life. So, for instance, I'll have, someone that's going through a divorce now purchasing a house now on their own. So I'll say, is it your first time purchasing a house? Well, yes and no, because, I bought a house with my husband and now I'm doing it on my own.
Right.
And so that in itself is stressful.
Yeah.
So now, so now the seller can't get the tenant out. That's a whole extra thing you weren't expecting, when you were simply just trying to move on with your life to purchase a new home and start afresh, start anew. So, so those are really the things that, are challenging. Any sort of legal issues, I can always just manage that and figure that out because of the years of experience or because I have like a good team. So like if I don't know, I know I could always call my girl Sabine and Sabine, have you ever had something like this? And so I have my colleagues and title companies and resources that I can always call. So that's like the easy part. It's more of the emotional side of real estate that becomes challenging.
I agree. And then every client has like a different like family scenario. Like you said, one is getting divorced, one is a single mom, one is married with a difficult spouse, whatever.
Exactly.
Everything is different. And then their financial situation is different. Where the property is located, the property is different. So there's so many uniques that are involved that you do have, new things that kind of come up. Although there's a solution, but sometimes they're surprises.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Understood and agreed.
Yes. That's good. That's good. So is there anything that people might assume about the industry or like what you do that they may be wrong about?
Well, my Instagram, crystal.younglaw. But like if you look at my Instagram, I try to bring out like the beautiful.
Make sure you follow her. Don't let that one fall. Just like make sure you follow Crystal.younglaw on Instagram.
Yes, exactly. So I love it. So my Instagram, I try to bring out the best parts of real estate. So, you know, I've called the boomerang queen.
Yes.
Because after every closing, it's kind of like we're celebrating, and that's really all I'm showing.
Right.
I haven't, you know, taken a lot of time to focus, and it's not even really my personality to focus on negative
that's true.
things. And so, but I do feel like it's important. So, you know, maybe some self-reflection here. I should start talking about some more of those challenges, but I think what becomes misleading just from, again, social media and sometimes hearing just stories that, you know, when you're purchasing a house, it's just a very easy, smooth process.
Right.
And we celebrate and we do a boomerang at the end with the keys. And this may have sat in contract for 6 months and it should have closed in 2 months because of some challenges. But at the end of the day, we closed. So that's what I like to show, you know, the happy, like, finally we're here, we closed. But that's the part that I think is most misunderstood about real estate, that there could be some challenges. So I try now more often to set some expectations and just talk more about, you know, what it looks like if there are some challenges. So when I'm reviewing the contract with the client, I'll say, listen, this could happen and that could happen, but like, we don't want focus on that. I want you, and I say this to the clients, I want you to focus on the end goal, you know, throughout this entire process. And the end goal is that I'm going to have a house at the end of the day. So I want you to start thinking about what you want to put in that house, what colors you want to paint the living room and the dining room and all of that. Like, let's start to retrain our focus, not on so much of the challenges, but like
and might lose it, or, you know, holding on to like the worst that could happen.
The worst that can happen. So, but, you know, things do happen, and I think that's what's misunderstood. But,
so we're going to call her the real estate mindset guru.
Yes. Oh, yes. I like
Trademark
that.
it.
Oh, for sure.
Trademarked already.
Yes. And you know, this one knows a good trademark. So, you know, she knows everything about trademarks. So if you're looking for a trademark in a business, Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer.
Okay, I'll invite her on every show so she can do all the commercials.
I will be that endorsement for you because... Yes, that is phenomenal. So.
Thank you.
Yes, girl.
Okay, so what would you say is like your wildest dream? If you could do anything in the world, what would you be doing?
Travel. I would do something that, you know, where I am, you know, where I have an impact on people and I can travel while doing so.
Awesome.
So I don't really know what that looks like, but I know travel is involved and I know changing people's lives is involved.
Awesome.
I've been spending a lot of time because, you know, we have the book club.
Yes.
Infinite Mindset Book Club.
Right.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
Infinite Mindset Book Club. But
see, she don't play around. Like, she don't sleep. It's always going.
This is us, girl. This is us. But so we're doing this book club.
Right.
And the book club, you know, we're learning and reading books. The book club is focused on books that
self-development.
Self-development that has allowed us to change our mindset and to like dream and write down our goals and things. So I've been spending some time doing that. I just haven't pinned down that thing that will allow me to do all the things I want to do, because when I write down my goals and my dreams, I see travel, I see, you know, being like a mentor, I see changing lives, but I don't know what it looks like in terms of a career or a, you know, something that's going to generate some income where I'm not just traveling and, you know, and there's no money in the bank. So I haven't figured it out yet.
But we know that, you know, when you're in that space and you're sort of like, you're channeling everything that you want to you, basically, you're drawing it in. So as long as you're focused on the positivity and your goals and things and not, not anything that could sort of get in the way, you're going to bring it. It's going to come about. You don't have to, we don't need to know the how.
You
just need to know the end goal, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's what I like to do when I dream.
Oh, that's good.
Travel and just, definitely. What about you?
Oh, this is not about me.
Can I send that back to you? Because I'm curious what your answer would be.
I love doing this.
Yes,
so this is part of why I am, even doing this podcast. Like, I love it. Although, like I said, it's a weird sort of like introvert thing where, although I don't like to be out there, for some reason, this is like a channel that allows me to, I think it allows me to deliver like my creativity, whatever that is. I'm a Pisces, so they say you're supposed to be creative as a Pisces. Let me know, Pisces, if that's a thing.
Very creative, trust me.
Thank you. So that's what this allows me to do. And I do love to travel. I love, incorporating my work with my family and travel. So any way I could sort of do that, I'm sort of with it.
Okay, maybe we could travel together. That's right.
Never know.
Okay, I like it. All right,
you never know.
Set that up soon.
Soon to be continued.
Yes.
So one of Crystal's other talents is that she is I want to say like a super networker. Like she is so good at networking. She cannot be she can't be competed with, right? So how did you like channel that? Was there somebody who influenced you to be, networking like that, or how did that come about?
Yeah, definitely. So my current employer, Ray Service, shout out to Ray Service. When I started working, at the office, I would see how he would go to lunch and bring people, and he knew everybody.
Okay.
And then as once I started there, people would ask, oh, where are you working? Who are you working with? And, and I would always say, Ray Service, Service and Associates. And people would be like, oh man, I love Ray Service.
Oh, wow.
I love Ray Service. And so he is a master networker.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but he became my mentor.
Awesome.
So, I just signed him up for that. He didn't really have a choice,
right.
But I just, and I would go along with him and just kind of watch how he would like kind of work a room. And that really was like an eye-opening for me. And so I remember I started attending, this is how it all started. I started to attend several networking groups like on Long Island, kind of like where I lived. And it was, I started a B&I group, like attending one. And then I went to a networking group where it was all lawyers and accountants.
Okay.
I was the youngest one in the room. I was the only one that looked like me, and which was fine. Like, I loved it. I mean, anywhere I go, like, I'm like, hey, I love it. I can have a conversation. I loved it. It was great. But then he said to me, he was like, why don't you, make your way into other areas? Not that you're sitting and, meeting just accountants and lawyers. They're boring. That's not you. He's like, you got to find your group. And so I remember attending one networking event, and it probably, I think, was with OSE, with National Standard
Abstract.
Yes, exactly. And just being in a room full of people that look like us. And it was fun. Like, there was a bar. People were lively. There was music. And I'm like, this is my scene.
Right. You're like, oh, you can hang and do work. Okay.
Exactly. And that's what it is because, I'm young, single, I like to go out. But now I'm like, that became my like going out.
Awesome.
So anytime there was like a networking event where, you can have music, happy hour, this and that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll substitute this from me just going to, out with my girlfriends on a weeknight or a weekend. So that's how I became this master networker.
So you didn't see it as work.
No, I really
so it's
didn't
fun,
see
right?
it as work. And that's what they say, like, if you do what you love, then you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
So I was enjoying just kind of going out before the pandemic occurred and they shut everything down.
Yes.
And then that's how the book club started, because I was like, well, I need to interact with people.
Yeah.
Because
tell me about that time, like,
Yes.
you know, especially being single and
Yes.
used to being out all the time and to
Yes.
going into quarantine. How did that go for you? Like, how
Yeah.
was that?
It was difficult. Like at the beginning, I found my rollerblades that I
Okay.
hadn't pulled out in forever, just to kind of get outside. And like, I started to meet people in my community that walk their dogs. So like now I feel like I just know everyone that lives near me. You know, I always had a need to like kind of meet people. So I found a way to do it through that. And then you know, home board, I, you know, posted a picture of my bookshelf, and, you know, one of my friends, Valessa, said,
shout out to Valessa.
Hey, Valessa.
You birthed something, girl.
Yes, exactly. So Valessa says, you should start a book club, you know, and I'm like, okay. And then I called my friend Angie. Hey, Angie.
Hey, Angie.
So I called my friend Angie, you know, and I said, oh, I'm going to, you know, I think I'm just going to do this book club and like, let's see, you know, what kind of happens. But it was kind of a way to interact with people and have something to do. Because, yes, being home and just kind of figuring out what does life supposed to look like.
Or what life's going to be, you know.
What life is going to be.
I'm sure you guys can relate to that.
I'm sure
you know?
all can relate
Especially
to that.
early last year.
Yes, exactly. You didn't know. However, real estate was still booming.
You were booked and busy for that.
Yes. Real estate was insane. And so we were learning like, okay, how are we going to do this closing? Because we still kind of had to sign documents in person at the closing table. So we were doing closings in parking lots and just separated into rooms, wearing our masks. So I still got to like interact with people.
Yeah,
but
that way.
Now even more so. I'm like, after the closing, I'm like, where are you guys going? Can I go too? Like, can you bring me to the house? Like, I was just looking for something to do. So, but yeah, no, it really helped with the self-development too, because it made me realize that, you know, you don't need to be around a lot of people to just, you know, be happy, to feel fulfilled. You know, you can really, it starts within. And that's why a lot of those self-development books kind of helped during that time, because I had some time to get into a routine and meditate and do some things that I probably wouldn't have had the chance to do before.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. So that book club, it's awesome. I know it's changed my life.
Yes.
How has it changed your life?
It's changed my life in so many ways. One, the routine, getting up earlier and not being so like scrambled and like not, you know, one thing that I learned just recently or was reminded of just recently in reading a book by Mr. Jermaine Miller.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Jermaine.
Shout out to Jermaine, who actually does the study group within our book club. Currently, we're reading The Magic Power of Your Inner Conversations.
Excellent book.
Yeah. And there was something so powerful. It's something that I knew because we just kind of talked about it, but it said in the last few chapters, just, you know, have a picture of the person you want to be and like kind of step into that role. So recently I've been reminding myself, like when I've encountered challenges, I'm like, well, the person I want to be, Beyonce.
Me too, girl.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. So when
what would Beyonce
do? Like, I just, you know, want to wear a bracelet. Just what would Beyonce do? And Jesus, you know, but both of them, like, maybe
what would Jesus do?
And
but then after Jesus, then what would Beyonce do?
Got Beyonce. Yes. And so, in thinking about, you know, what the person that I want to be, what would they do in this situation? And I've been, the last couple of weeks in particular, really been stepping into that space. So thanks to Jermaine Miller for stating that in the book, because it's reminded me that, you know, the person I want to be is confident. The person I want to be sits up straight. Because even when I just said it to you, who the person I want to be, like, I found myself sitting up straight. You know, the person I want to be walks with confidence. The person I want to be is articulate, is, you know, is fun and happy and kind and change lives and
all
these
things.
all these things.
Right.
And so it's like a daily practice. You have to just remind yourself of that. So that's how this book club has really changed my life.
That's beautiful.
Sometimes we walk around in a fog and then you read something in a book and it wakes you up.
It does. It does. Yeah. And it's amazing how it's like sometimes some of the things that you learn, it's not new information, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, I've heard a variation of this.
Absolutely.
But for some reason, it's either the time in your life or the way the author put it.
Yes.
Jermaine was really good at, putting things in such a way that it's just like, whoa.
Yes.
Like wake up. Like he says, wake up and win. Like wake up and like really pay attention to what's going on, because like you said, like you're busy, you're doing a lot of things. And so you could easily just be frenzied.
Yes.
But you can also choose to just like calm down. You know what I mean? And so like take a second and evaluate. And I love that, like being the person who you want to be, because I had like a similar impact on me where I would think about like what am I thinking? How am I being?
Yes.
Like if I want something out of a relationship, a friendship, am I being that?
Yes.
Am I giving that?
Yes.
Like how am
That's good.
how am I like functioning, going through life? Like what are my thoughts and stuff like that? And I realized even like a lot of opportunities that I didn't have the right mindset, and so I didn't receive them, the way that I should have received them, or benefited from them the way that I should have benefited from them. And so I'm like, yeah, it was you, girl. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
and that's freeing too, because you sometimes want to blame somebody.
Yes, always.
Always.
Yes, speaking to me.
Right.
Yes.
And so like when you are able to like own it,
Yes.
you're like, okay, now I'm free. Now I know it's not outside of me, like you said, it's within.
It's within.
That's awesome.
100%. 100%.
Awesome. So I want you to like give a message to some people who maybe could take some inspiration from you. So like to your younger self about to go to law school, what would you tell that girl?
Go. Go. Don't wait. My story, I went away to school 2 years after, I graduated high school.
Okay.
I went to the University of Maryland, College Park, Terrapins, baby.
Okay.
and I came home after 2 years and I started to work. I worked at in retail, and then I started to work as a makeup artist, and then I also
I didn't know you did makeup.
Yes, girl.
Okay.
Yes, I worked
She's
for
been
the
having that
Estee Lauder
skill.
company.
All right.
And for Clinique. And so, yes, I would do all the special events for all Macy's and Bloomies and Saks.
Wow.
That was my fun job. Yes. I
does
did that
sound fun.
even in law school on the weekend.
Okay.
Yes. So that was fun. But I would say to, if you want to go to law school, go. Don't wait. Because for me, I came home after those 2 years. I started as not even just as a paralegal. I started at a law firm that summer that I came home, and I was the bookkeeper's assistant.
Okay.
That summer, I should have went back to school. And I didn't, but it's a blessing in disguise, because then maybe I was going to school to be a child psychiatrist. So it's a blessing that I didn't. But I knew I should have went back to school. And I just, I said, you know what? I have my fun job when I work as a makeup artist. I have my real job,
right.
My full-time job where I'm working with a law firm. And though I was the bookkeeper's assistant, eventually I became a paralegal assistant, then a paralegal, then a managing paralegal.
Yes, girl.
But yes,
climb that ladder.
Yes, and that's what it was. It was like climbing the corporate ladder, right? And so I just felt, there was more. And as I would see the attorneys, and like I said, I had all the examples of like, if you could do this, I could do this.
Right.
But I waited. And so if there's anything anyone ever wants to do, if there's anything you want to do,
right,
what I need you to do is go do it. Don't wait. Don't say, oh, next year. And I have friends that, they watched me kind of say, okay, I'm going to go back because I still needed to get my bachelor's. I'm going to continue to work. And some people that I worked with, we were all young, and we're paralegals. And so I said to them, listen, guys, I'm going to work here. And at night, I'm going to go back to school to get my bachelor's. And so maybe they had their 2 years paralegal and their 2 years. And they said, oh, well, maybe I'll go next year, or maybe I'll do this, or I'll wait, whatever. When I talk to some of them now, they're like, oh man, I should have went with you. We should have done it together. And now it's like they still would have to get their bachelor's, and still like time is so precious.
Yes.
Before you know it, you're done.
You know what? I just want to interject there because like I've had that thing like where I'm like, oh, I should have done this back then. But when you look like how much time is still ahead, God willing, you know what I mean? You still have the time to do it. So it's like, and now I look back to when once upon a time when I was like, I was too old to do something. And I'm like, I was young. I should have still, you know what I mean? So it's like, don't ever, don't waste time, right? Definitely seize the moment, but also you can still do it, like you said, because you said you waited, but you still did it.
But I still did it. And that's very important. That's very important. And that would be the lesson I would have for anyone. If there's anything you need to do, first go skydive.
Crystal's checklist, skydive.
Skydive number 1, because that's going to push you and give you the momentum.
Shake off the fears.
Right.
Yeah.
So that then you will, you'll know that you could do anything.
Right.
But don't wait. If you have a desire to do something, just go for it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah. But things don't work sometimes because we give up too early.
Yes,
and
girl.
so
I wanted to be a model. I didn't try hard enough.
Girl, you got the height and everything.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Height,
it's okay. I'm still do my photo shoots.
Yes,
Thank
exactly. You have it all.
Yeah.
So it's not too late.
It's not too late.
It's
Book
not
me.
too
No.
late. You see all these Instagram models.
Right.
Right? Right. And it's modeling looks different now.
It does,
than when we were young. It's like you had to be super skinny,
super slender, super tall.
And, Victoria's Secret with the wings.
Yeah.
And so shout out to Victoria's Secret.
We're going to have endorsements, everything.
But, so, you create that. And so that's what's important, so Sabine wants to be a model. And so anyone that has a modeling gig, and that's what it is. What does it mean? We have to then create, what does it mean to be a model? What does that look like for us?
Right, and embody it.
Embody it, right? And so, and create that, and, So
to add on to what you said, like, when I was younger and, like, about to, like, go into legal field, or even when I was thinking about starting my own firm, I was like, I had, like, a stigma that because I was somebody of color, either I wasn't going to make enough money or I wasn't going to be that successful. Have you ever let that hold you back or affect you?
No. Okay. I think for me, because I went to high school, middle school and high school, where I was the only in a lot of my classes person that kind of looked like me in some of my classes, not the school itself, right? But some of the classes I was in, and I just never really internalized that. Okay. I just figured, again, if you could do it, like, why can't I? Like, it wasn't really a thing. I think it's interesting that I didn't grow up like that, because now sometimes I see myself like, oh, could I really do that? Right. Because I think sometimes I'm looking for examples of someone that looks like me, that's doing it. And if I can't immediately, I'm sure there is, there always is, but sometimes because I can't find that immediate example, and I'm always searching for that, like, that
sort of validation, like, it's okay.
Yeah,
permission.
Exactly. Sometimes I do find myself, like, oh, can I do that? Then I'm like, the person I want to be
right, yes,
is doing it, right?
Yeah,
and so, or it can do it. And so, when my mind goes there, and that's what happens, you can be as positive and inspiring and all of that, but your mind still, they say has a mind of its own, which I don't necessarily believe in, but I do believe it's an everyday practice that we're training our mind to think that, whatever we want to do, and believe that whatever we want to do, we can certainly do. So when my mind goes there, I bring it right back, and I say, no, this is what we doing today. Exactly. I want to do it. I'm doing it. And that's what it is.
Yeah. I love that you called it a practice, because I think that in and of itself is like a super gem. Like that is so freeing to know that it's okay to like make mistakes. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to be wrong. It's all practice. Just keep bringing it back. Keep bringing it back. Your mind is going to wander. Keep bringing it back. You know what I mean? Like, 100%. And don't beat yourself up. Don't keep paying for the same mistakes or negative thoughts or whatever over and over again, right? Just one time. And then bring it back.
Every day.
Multiple times a day,
Times a day. Yes. And that's the importance, I think, of like setting the tone when you wake up in the morning. So we've started our Monday meditation. Right? And so it really is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But officially it's Monday meditation where, you know, we're getting up at 6:30 in the morning. Me and you are there every morning. Me, you, Angie, you know, Angela, and Andy, you know, a lot of us are waking up on Monday, 6:30, and we're sitting for 20 minutes and we're doing guided meditation with Sabrina. And she's really just talking us through like setting a intention for our day. But when you say practice, now that you've set your intention at, you know, 6:30 in the morning, now at 3 p.m. when, you know, as you've been just hit with challenges, you have to remind yourself, tap into what you did at 6:30 in the morning and that you said to yourself, this is how my day is going to look. So at 3 p.m. when your day starts to look a different way, you have to make your day, your mind, tell your mind, no, I told myself what I want my day to look like.
I said what I said.
And I said what I said. And this is what my day is going to look like. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care about all these external challenges. Like, this is the way my day is going to look. So again, it's a practice and just kind of retraining your mind. So
I love that. I love that. Crystal, this was an amazing conversation.
Thank you
as
so
usual.
much for having me.
Yes,
I feel so honored to be here with Sabine, the Purpose Lawyer. You guys better follow her because this woman right here, if you don't know by now, she's so inspiring.
She's
a mother. She's a God-fearing woman. And she is, and she is amazing, amazing. Anyone that I say has daughters, you know, have your daughters, your sons, follow her as well. Because if I had someone like Sabine, you know, as a kid, as a child, man, like, so you are so inspiring. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate you. And you too. You're doing amazing things. I know you're inspiring tons of people out there, especially, you know, lawyers who look at you and you're telling them that you're giving them permission. You know, to do all the things and to not have hesitation and to just like go after it. So, and there's so much more to come.
Thank you, girl, for you as well. Thank you so much.
So again, although she told us, where can people find you? Where can they follow you?
Okay, so at crystal.younglaw. That's where you'll find me. And that's like on Instagram, Facebook, and all of that. And follow the book club, the Infinite Mindset Book Club. And hopefully you'll join us like on a Sunday. We meet by way of Zoom. And so we would love to have you there too. And you can meet both of us in person one day soon when we're traveling all over the world.
Exactly, right? We'll be to a city near you.
City near you, country near you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Crystal.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Love you so much.
Love you too.
Keep doing it, girl.
You too.